Maestro styles, you know we got one. Right back like we left something. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey sharp with the blade, you know we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, you know Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.
Yo, what up, folks? Welcome back. It's another edition of the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. We are live streaming on Twitter at Barbershop SPOR2, also on the YouTube channel, Facebook page, Twitch, and on Instagram at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. I'm Trey Frazier, and normally my co-host Maestro Styles is with me, but he had an engagement to attend this evening, so it was going to be your boy and a special guest here with me this evening. We got the homie Vernon Hadnot, and hopefully I said that correctly. Vernon Hadnot, who's the founder and owner of D210 Sports, or D210 Sports, if I'm saying that correctly. Dallas-based sports media company, producer, editor, photographer, the whole 9 yards. He's doing everything, folks. I'd like to welcome in the homie here, Vernon Hadnot. Hey, Vern, man, thanks for, popping in. I know we started a little late than, normally, but we was able to, get the kinks out and finally, make this happen. So thanks again for your time.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So D210 Sports, based out of Dallas, and I had a chance to look through the website with all the videos, and I see you have a cast of lovely individuals that cover all the Dallas area teams, including the Cowboys, the Wings, the Mavericks, and some college football as well. So I guess I want to start here too. So take me back to before you started this company and what kind of led you up to this point. So where did the inspiration to start this company start for you?
Well, it started back, man, way back, like in 94, 95. Actually, when I was in Austin, when I was living in Austin, I had a show called After Dark, which translated into After Dark Entertainment over the years. And I started that back, I believe, in 94 and 95. And how it started out, it was a sports entertainment show, mainly a lot of entertainment than sports. And as I began to kind of decide if I was going to stay in Austin or move to Dallas, it started to kind of translate into a sports show. My biggest, where I felt at that time was my biggest interview, and who was like, when I was a kid coming up, Tony Dorsett was like my favorite running back, like, of all time. And I had a chance to get an interview with him, come up to Dallas at that time and interview him. And then from there, it started translating into more of a sports show where it wasn't so much of entertainment. So that's basically how I got D210 started. Fast forward, I moved to Dallas in 98. And at that time, I was kind of having a hard time trying to figure out how I was going to do the show, because at that time I was the host. And at that point, I was saying, well, I really don't want to be a host. I would, like to do behind the scenes stuff. That way I can have a little bit more control of, how I wanted, how I wanted to look and how I wanted to, flow. And so there was a guy who worked at Time Warner at the time and was looking to put some content on. And at that time, it was called the Texas Channel. And he said, hey, if you have a program or know anybody who have a program, have them contact me, have them send me their content, and we'll take it from there. But lo and behold, send them my content, and it started from there. And actually, in actuality, D210, it actually After Dark translated into D210 probably around 2009, 2010. So that's kind of how it all started.
94 and 95, those are some good years, especially for sports, music, television. Those are some good years for all three of those things. So So yeah, you've been at this for a while, man. And I gotta ask you, so you're originally from Austin, Texas?
I was raised in Austin. I'm originally I was born in Hope, Arkansas, the home of Bill Clinton.
Ah, okay. Okay. Oh, I can hear the accent. Okay.
Oh, you can hear the accent?
I can hear the accent. When you said Arkansas, I was like, yep, that I hear the accent. I hear that. I hear that. Yeah, that's dope stuff, man. But I gotta ask you too. So as far as some of the trades that you possess in terms of editing, producing, maybe a little bit of writing here, like what's your most favorite part about the sports media thing? Like what draws your interest the most of those three things there?
I would probably say the editing aspect of it. That's kind of like one of my favorite things to do. I always envision if I did have a TV show back then, how would it look? And I wanted to emulate what I saw on TV, and then kind of, and that's just like with an artist or singers, looking at, someone who's established or whatever, and looking at what they do and taking their style and kind of developing it themselves. And that's one of the things that I try to do, or I try to
Yeah.
do with D210 Sports, is try to take some of the stuff that I see on television that some of the major networks do and try to make it
Yeah.
my own. I don't have the big staff like they do, but
Right.
when you see our product, you would think that they're, that we have a big staff.
I love some of the graphics and stuff.
Oh, thank you.
I love, yeah, I love some of that. And when I think about this podcast here, which by the way, we're entering our 400th episode in a few weeks.
Oh,
Me and
wow.
Maestro.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Thank
to you
you.
and Maestro. Yeah.
Me and Maestro have been doing this for about going on 9 years now. We're about to enter our 10th year, kind of doing this. And so, this podcast has grown over the years, and I've sort of developed, and I've always been a guy that's kind of been into the arts as far as like drawing and, imagining things and, editing and things like that. Cause I'm kind of with you. Like, I love the editing part of this because it allows you to get artistic with, putting together your stuffs. You know what I mean? Like it allows some of that creativity to kind of, come to light and everything. So I could definitely appreciate the editing part of, what you do there.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, the editing part to me is it's like an artistic thing. It's like getting your paint and your brush to the side, and then you have a canvas, and it's like, okay, how do I want to paint this canvas? And so that's pretty much how I approach it. Whenever I'm editing a show, or if I'm editing any segment on the show.
Right. Now, obviously, when it comes to the editing portion, and we're not quite to the point where we're getting other folks to do it, but you have gotten to the point throughout your journey where you're able to get other people involved in, this company here. So what is it like to give people from all different walks of life opportunities to let them shine for themselves? Like one of my favorite people to follow who works for you, Raya Turner. I follow her on IG quite a bit, and also on Instagram, and not Instagram, Twitter. I follow her quite a bit. She does a great job, covering the teams in the area. Like, how does that feel to be able to give folks those kind of opportunities where maybe you look around and they weren't given opportunities by some of these other big networks?
That's a good question. I guess I kind of approach it this way. I played college football, and I had a couple of professional tryouts. But
what position you play?
I played running back.
Running back.
Yes.
Ooh, okay.
And
we're about to pivot to another convo.
So I always felt that I don't know, better lack of term. I don't think that I wasn't good enough. I just didn't put into the work to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that with the reporters that come to me, so to speak, it's an opportunity for them to be able to kind of put in the work and be thrown in the fire, and to be able to actually compete with the other reporters who are actually from the big networks, but being able to showcase their talents to maybe move on to do, to move on to a network, if that answers your question. So to me, it feels pretty good, especially to see, some of my reporters who moved on to work for other sports teams and also to other networks.
Yeah, because D210, it feels like it's like a college. It's like you go there, you get your feet wet, you get the experience, and then you graduate to, bigger and better things.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is. And my approach is, if I feel that someone has if I feel that someone, I know that they have that it factor in them, then I pretty much throw them to the fire. And the reporters that I have thrown to the fire actually excel a whole lot and have grown since the time that they first started with me.
No doubt, no doubt. We got to talk about this whole running back thing, because we've had a lot of conversations in regards to the running back in the NFL, how they're so undervalued in today's NFL. How do you feel about that? Do you think that the position is a dead position, or do you feel like it's, trying to slowly make a return? Because I still see value in having a running back as a person that roots for the Ravens and, a team that always loves running the football. I feel like that's still an important position, regardless of how you feel about the value.
Yeah, when I was coming up, it was Earl Campbell, Tony Dorsett, Eric Dickerson, Marcus Allen. OJ was starting to fade away a little bit because it was a little bit later in his career. And at that time, running backs were valued as being, the focal point of an offense. And if you take a look, if you go back to the history, they really didn't get paid a whole lot back then either. But they were valued as the vocal point of, getting that team, over the hump or into the playoffs. And nowadays, with the passing game, that's kind of, so to speak, pushed them off to the side a little bit, as far as them being the vocal point, of the team. But being a former running back, a college running back, I still feel that when it comes down to it, when it's wet, when the weather, is not, when the weather is not, when it's raining, or when it's
snowy,
when the
very
weather
inclement.
When the weather conditions aren't perfect, then you still need to depend on that running game. And I feel that the good teams, and even if you look at the Super Bowl with Kansas City, they utilize their running game to their advantage. And most teams that go further into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl, and even in college football, you have to depend on that running game. And the running back, I still feel, is a focal point, at some point, during the season. And but now, the receivers and the quarterback gets paid the most, and then it's the receiver. The running back is kind of one of those, they don't get paid as much. And then when they do get the bigger contract, it's like on the latter part of their career. So, it can go, either way.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned like the other positions, the receivers and the quarterbacks, because you could throw in the pass rusher, the cornerback, like in terms of pay scale, it is quarterback, receiver, and then you can argue it's the pass rusher, the corner, and then it's the running back. Yeah.
Even the defensive linemen, the offensive linemen, are getting paid more than the running back, they're the key that starts the car, basically, when it comes down to it in crunch time, of being able to further a team season.
Right. And you went to college where?
I went to the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California, and at that time we were in the Big West Conference, and the teams that were in our conference was UNLV, Fresno State, Utah State, San Jose State, Long Beach State.
All Division II or Division III?
It was Division I.
Division One. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
At that time. At that time, it was.
Yeah, at that time, and now they
Okay.
don't have a football Now there's no football program there. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I believe at that time, I played against Icky Woods, Johnny Johnson,
Icky Shuffle.
the Icky Shuffle. Yeah,
Man.
Icky did a number on us his last year there. He ran for like I think 257 yards or whatever. But yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Who else did you go up against during your college years?
I went up against my roommate, Ken Harvey. Ken Harvey played at the University of California. He and I went to Laney College together and were roommates. And Ken was a first round draft pick. I believe he was like the 11th pick to the Arizona Cardinals. And so there was another linebacker that played for Arizona State too that I went up against, and I cannot remember his name at that time. I have to look that up.
He got drafted eventually
Ken Harvey?
to the NFL. Yeah,
Ken was a first round draft pick. He was the 11th pick, I believe, overall. He went to the Arizona Cardinals, and then was traded to the Washington Redskins and was All Pro like 4 times out of his 11-year career.
Yeah, I gotta look him up. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, back to D210 Sports and your company and everything. So, future wise, in 5 years, where do you see D210 Sports as a whole? Where would you like for it to be in the next 5 years?
Over the years, we've had the opportunity to be able to move on to other networks, but it just seems like at this time and this point that Spectrum Cable has, been the best for us. Eventually, I would like to move on to a network. I don't know how many more years that I'll be doing this because I've been doing it for a while. My biggest thing is that my youngest daughter is getting ready to go off to college, and so I said that I would do it as long as she's in college because that gives her a chance to be an intern for me, which she's going to major in like digital media. And so that gives her an opportunity to be able to get her feet wet, and be able to network with, some of the teams that we cover. So, so it's a hit or miss with me. To me, depending on the type of sponsorship that we continue to get is how long I'll continue this journey with it. I would like to do it for a little while longer, but also, as I stated before, I've been doing it for a while. So it's just one of those things that I'll take it day by day. I mean, I love doing it because I love the aspect. It's not necessarily the games, it's the production of it and putting it together. To me, it's like putting together, like I said, like a picture and like a puzzle. It's putting those pieces together and trying to make them fit and being able to, compete with the big boys.
Right. Maybe I could speak this into existence. And I'm glad you mentioned your daughter and congratulations on her
thank you.
being able to jump to college. But the fact that you have ownership and to be able to give your children opportunities to work for you and to be able to have the opportunity to one day she owns D210 Sports and maybe takes it to the next level.
That's always been my thought process right there for, to try to do it as long as I can. And then, she take it over and my older daughter take it over and being able to, take it to another level that I wasn't able to take it to. I mean, with my youngest daughter, she's I'm not per se a photographer. I take pictures if I'm scheduled to cover a game, just so we'll have it for the website and so I can be able to use it, in a recap. But her talent wise, as far as, and I'm not just saying it because she's my daughter, it's like over the top. Some games that we cover together, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to use her picture because it looks way better than Dad's. So
there you go.
And so my oldest daughter was a marketing major from Oklahoma State. So my thing would be, for them both to run the company. My oldest daughter do the business aspect of it, and my youngest daughter do, the production part.
There you go. See, that's how you do it. When you have offspring and They want to go work for dad or work for mom. This is generational wealth, people.
Yes,
This
it
is
is.
this is the example of how to build that wealth and to be able to pass it down to your kids.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the funny thing about it is that, I never pushed it on her or whatever. I could just see that she had an interest. So, I just
Mm.
asked her one day, I was like, hey, would you like to be an intern with me, to
Yep.
cover, some teams? And she's like, yeah, Dad, I love to do that or whatever.
Yeah.
So, she got involved in her high school to be able to cover the high school football and basketball games. So, that
Mhm.
also helped out,
Right.
to
Right.
help her skill level.
And that's the important thing too. I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes, and I came from a family that had a business 30 years ago as well. I worked for my grandfather at his carpet place back in New York, where I'm from. And sometimes that culture was, hey, you got to do what I do, or that's it, or it's the highway, however they say that, right? Today, in this day and age, all you got to do is just say, hey, look, if you want to do this, I'll make sure that you get the opportunity to do it. If you don't want to do it, I'm not going to force you. Whatever else you want to do in life, I just hope that you're successful at it, regardless of how we may feel about it. We just want you to be happy. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, because sometimes we get in our feelings about what we want our kids to be or want them to do, when the reality is that as they get older, it's going to be their life. It's going to be their
Yeah.
choices at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I pretty much take that from my dad. Like when I played sports, I mean, he was like my biggest fan, but he never pushed it on me. He's like, hey, son, do you want to play football? And I was like, oh yeah. Do you want to play basketball? I was like, oh yeah. Do you want to do track? So, he never pushed me, into it. Like I said, he was my biggest cheerleader, and I always appreciated that. And I wanted to, I knew that when I had kids that I, wanted to be able to do the same thing, support them, and no matter what, what they wanted to do. And just so happened that, my youngest is, all into, video and the production part of it. So,
That's what's up.
that's really a plus to me.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right, now let's get into the real stuff here,
Okay.
the actual sports, and
Okay.
what's going on in the city of Dallas, because Dallas has been a little bit on fire with the World Series championship from last season. The Dallas Mavericks was just in the NBA Finals. The hockey team was in the conference finals. But these Cowboys, man, like it seems like it's the talk of the town is always the Dallas Cowboys. And what do you know? There's always something going on in the offseason. There's always a topic of discussion when it comes to this team. I'm sure Jerry Jones makes sure that them checks is getting paid out so that folks can talk about the Cowboys here. But one of the big topics in the offseason, from a non-fan's point of view, is you got contracts. You got players that are up for contracts. Dak Prescott, who I think has a lot of leverage in his situation, due for a $60 million per year contract. Whether it's with the Cowboys or whether it's with somebody else, we'll see what happens there. And then you got CD Lamb, who I think is a top 5 receiver in this league. Take us through and kind of let us know your thoughts about the contract situations. Is this something that the Cowboys normally, engage in, and then they eventually get the deals done? Like talk about, how they approach this.
I think the biggest issue right now is because you have three players that need to, that need or want to get paid.
Yeah.
And it's not, your regular three people. It's three, of the guys who are a vocal point of the team. So I think the biggest issue is trying to sign all three of them at one time. And I don't know. Usually it's gotten done in the past because it's been one player, but I don't know if it could get done with the three players that you have. I know that two of those players are in camp right now.
Yeah.
One of them is not. And so you kind of have to respect that or whatever, because he's outperformed his contract, just as the other two have outperformed their contracts too. So I just think right now that the Cowboys organization, has a dilemma on who they will sign first. And if that means that you sign two of the players and one of them doesn't sign, or you sign one of the players and the other two don't sign, you still are going to have an issue because they are a vocal point of the team, and it will make a difference, at the start of the season. So I know with the quarterback situation, he's going to get paid either way or not, whether it's with the Cowboys or
Yeah.
whether it's with another team. But with that, if he does go to another team, then you having to start all over again and starting that wheel all over again, and then the fan base here is just different from other fan bases, in the NFL. And I don't know, how that's gonna, work into their thinking of, being able to sign the quarterback. But the quarterback, they signed for the most money, so I don't know if he's going to take a hometown discount, to be able to get the other player signed, or vice versa. Or the other player is going to take a discount to be able to get him signed, or I just don't know how that is going to work as far as being able to get all three of them there, at the start of the season.
Yeah.
So I'm
Shout out
hoping,
to my guy BS3. He's based out of Dallas also.
yeah,
Appreciate you, BS3. He makes a good point here too. Can they keep all three of these guys? They're the most valuable team in sports. Like you
yeah.
would think that that's something they could do. I get the idea of not paying them at the same time in the same year, but at some point you got to think they got the bread. They got money. Like this shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, just on the outside looking in, if you hear from fans, it's like, well, if Dak doesn't deliver this year, then he's gone. Which
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think that should be the case, because I think Dak is I think he's a top 5 quarterback, if not a top 3 quarterback. Yeah,
You said top 3.
yeah, I actually do, man.
Who you
I
got? So who you got better than that?
you got Mahomes, and then
Right.
you got Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
So I mean,
Okay.
I personally,
Okay.
I think he's a top 3 quarterback, and I know, it's like, well, he hasn't, gotten them over the hump in the playoffs. Lamar Jackson hasn't gotten them over the hump in the playoffs either. But
Right.
he's electric, and
Right.
his skill set,
He
is up there, with
he better
Mahomes.
he better than Josh Allen.
Yeah, I think, and not to take away from Josh, I think Josh Allen is overrated. That's
Mm.
just my opinion.
Ooh,
But I do
shots
think
fired. Ooh.
that's just my
Okay.
opinion.
Okay.
I
Okay.
do think Dak is a top 3 quarterback.
Okay. Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow gets hurt a lot. So if there's one knock on Joe Burrow, that's that. But when Joe Burrow's in there, he's one of the best in my book, and I don't like the Bengals.
Yeah. But you have to compare Dak's numbers to the other quarterbacks too, and he's like right up there with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's in today's sports, whether it's basketball, football, or baseball, it's all
Mm-hmm.
about what your numbers are in the playoffs, and that's and
He
true enough,
hasn't
that
delivered, and
he hasn't been able to.
most of the time he hasn't been delivering in them situations.
Yeah, and you have to look at it too. It's not just it's a team sport too. So
Yeah, facts,
if the
facts.
quarterback is not playing well and the defense is not playing well, then they're going to blame it on the quarterback.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
I got you.
so
I think about the playoff game against Green Bay, and defensively, I just think that team was checked out, even with Dak's pick six and a couple of other turnovers in that game. They didn't have a shot because the defense just seemed like they just look confused out there.
yeah, I know in the second half they were the Cowboys were kind of making a push to kind of come back, and then Green Bay made a big play, and then that kind of just negated all that.
Yeah.
And when people ask me about Dak, and when I make that, when I say, yeah, I think he's a top 3 quarterback, it's like, well, you got this quarterback, that quarterback, this and this, that. And I always tell them, I say, look at Kurt Warner when he played with the Rams. Kurt Warner would sometimes throw 3 interceptions or whatever, but the defense
Mm-hmm.
came through or whatever. The defense came through for
Right.
them to be able to win that game. So I think that's what it's going to take. If your quarterback is not playing also, that great, then it's going to take the defense to be able to help him out. And that's not all the time, but for the most part, that's defense wins games. You have to look at the Ravens the year that oh man, what's the quarterback's name? Trent Dilfer.
Oh,
Trent Dilfer.
2000.
Yeah,
2000. Yep.
2000. I mean, Trent Dilfer didn't have big numbers, but the defense played well enough.
It's a different
to get
NFL at that time too. It wasn't
Yeah.
just throw the ball all over the lot kind of a game. It was the running back. It was still like that was sort of like the focal point of offenses even then. Was running the ball. So yeah, you still had quarterbacks like you had Elway's winning Super Bowls. You had Tom Brady, at the beginning of his career, who really wasn't Tom Brady until that year he went undefeated in 2007, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But even in 2000, other than that Vikings team in 98 and 2000 that broke a bunch of records offensively, for the most part, the NFL was more of a run first pass game kind of a game.
It was. You had, I believe you had Eddie George back then, the running back from Cleveland. He went to Tennessee. I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, it was mostly a running game back then. So yeah, the game has changed quite a bit over the years.
Right. Projections for the Cowboys, in your opinion, this upcoming season, are they NFC East champs again? Are they a wild card, or does this thing just kind of spiral out of control and jobs get lost and the team has to, go refine itself?
I'll put it to you this way: because they have a new defensive coordinator, and their philosophy has changed.
Yeah.
And hopefully to their benefit, if the defense plays well, I feel that they can win the NFC East, and I feel that they can make a run in the playoffs.
And Diggs will be coming back.
And Diggs actually practiced in full pads. I think he was in full pads today. So yeah,
that's what's up.
So with Diggs and Bland back there, I think the only thing that they've had an issue with, and it's been over the years, is that middle linebacker, that interior part of the defense that's hurt them, with other teams. But if they can fix that, stitch that up, I believe that they can make a run in the playoffs this year. And I know teams like Detroit and Green Bay and San Francisco are going to be in the thick of things. But it just depends on where their position and who they match up well against.
So Maestro made me rethink this last week. We were talking NFC East football, and I thought Dallas had the better roster between them and the Eagles, and he kind of ran through that Eagles roster, and I said, whoa, you know what? You might be right with what the moves they've made. Saquon Barkley, the draft they had, they paid Devontae Smith, so they got both of their, top two receivers, getting them paid. Jalen Hurts, expect a bounce back season from him. He made me change my mind a little bit. I got to look and say, hey, the Eagles have the more talented roster now. It doesn't mean that they're going to win the division, but I think when I look at it between the two rosters, I got to say that Philadelphia, I think, when you look at the positions that they've got filled, they have the better roster. Yeah,
I would agree with you on that. They do have the better roster, and they did make some big moves in the offseason. And to me, it's all about, how you're going to produce on the field and if you can keep your team healthy. So it's going to be a race. So
there you go.
We'll see how it comes out at the end.
All right. That's what's up. Hey, man. I appreciate you, being on with me tonight. I wanted to throw one more question in there for you, and it's kind of off rip. We didn't necessarily, put it in the rundown, but I got to get a top 5 list from you out there. So give me your top 5 NFL players all time.
All time?
Yep.
Ooh, Okay, that's a oh man. Um,
No particular order.
okay, no particular order. I'd say Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. I gotta put Tony Dorsett in there because he was
I was gonna say
undersized.
you mentioned him earlier.
Yeah, yeah. I have to,
Yeah.
I have to put him in there. And I have to put Marcus Allen in there too because Marcus Allen was one of my favorite running backs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I need to put a defensive player in there. I would probably say Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis. I like that. I like that. I don't like his post career, but definitely when he was on the
Yeah.
field, he was the man. So it's one of the reasons I became a Ravens fan, you know, being born and raised in New York City. So he's definitely one of the reasons that I root for the Ravens, you know, to this day. So
Who's
yeah,
your top?
that's a good list.
Who's your top 5?
Top 5 NFL players all time.
Mm-hmm.
Man, cause see, coming out the womb, I wasn't an NFL fan.
Really?
I wasn't. I tell this story all the time. My mother was a big time Knicks fan. Growing up in New York City, and thank God the Knicks are, you know, relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this time because of the last, you know, couple decades just haven't been the best. But no, I grew up watching the Knicks. I mean, in the '90s, they were in the playoffs every year. We would go to games and stuff. Her friends would get tickets from, you know, their jobs and stuff, and we would go to the Garden for games, even sometimes playoff games. So growing up in the city, it was a basketball town, and at school we used to go to Mets games. We used to go to some Yankee games here and there. So that's how I liked baseball as well. So I didn't follow football much, you know, growing up in New York City until I moved out here to Maryland. And I think one of the first things I found out real quickly was that this area, which also, you know, DC is a few miles, you know, away from where I'm at, that it's a big rabid football area. And, you know, everything else comes second. So I gravitated to the Ravens. They were coming off of a Super Bowl championship the year before I moved here. And that's just kind of how it stuck with me ever since then. I've been a fan of the team almost 20 years. And so, but with that being said, top 5 football players. Man, T.O. I got to put T.O. in there. I just hate the way they dog my guy in terms of, you know, the Hall of Fame and, you know, and all that stuff. I'm glad he's gotten in, but that dude should have been first ballot, no
Yeah.
doubt. Other players, I guess I gotta go football players. I mean, I'm just kind of reaching off the top of the dome here. Michael Vick was a very electrifying player. You know, especially during his Atlanta days, but you know, with everything that happened to him and the comeback and even that great year he had in Philly, which I think was 2010.
Yeah.
He quickly he became, you know, one of my favorites coming up. Um, I Ed Reed. I'm sorry, Ed Reed is one of my favorites. Some people say he's the greatest Raven of all time, even over Ray Lewis. There's an argument here about that.
Yeah. I
So,
forgot
but
about Ed Reed. Yeah.
yeah, Ed Reed. I loved Ed Reed here. And I'm gonna just throw a couple, you know, a couple more names out there. T Sizzle, Terrell Suggs. Um, Definitely, you know, one of the, you know, greatest Ravens in the history. Should be, in my opinion, first ballot. I believe he's up this year. I heard his name getting floated around during the Hall of Fame festivities over the weekend. So I think he's eligible to be inducted for next year's class. So if he could get in on the first ballot, that would be dope. And then I got to go with a fifth favorite NFL player. Man, I gotta go with a running back. I gotta give some respect to the running backs here. Man, Adrian Peterson was like one of them ones
Yeah.
when he first came into the league. He really, um he really put the league on notice, like one of the strongest dudes you'll ever come across. Even when he was like older, and even the one thing I was most impressed about him was the year after he tore his ACL and he worked so hard to get back and had that record breaking 2,000-yard season. I think he won MVP that season. Yeah, that's just man stuff right there. Like that's just, being, working hard at your craft and, being able to get back on the field and all that stuff. So there's my 5. I'm probably going to change it when I give it some more thought. But that would be my 5, given that I've, watched the NFL for probably a good 20, 22 years. I don't have a lot of, childhood, experiences the way, most folks do out there. So.
Yeah, that's a good top 5, man. And with Ed Reed, yeah, I totally forgot about him because he was kind of the heart and soul of that defense too, as well, man.
Oh yeah.
That defense was just ferocious.
Oh yeah.
It was ferocious.
The way Peyton and Tom Brady would talk about him, like when you watch some of those shows on NFL Network, I think it was it was the Patriots one where he had Brady in his office and they were like game planning so hard to try to figure out Ed Reed. Like that's when you command the respect, is when you in the greatest of all times facility and you're being talked about as a dude that, people fear when they play you. The Patriots feared Ed Reed on several occasions. So yeah, he definitely was one of those ones for sure.
Most definitely.
No doubt. Hey, Vernon, this is great, man. Again, I want to thank you for coming through. Let everybody know out there how they can reach you on social media, the website, and some of the things that you got coming up.
If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we come on Spectrum Cable Channel 15 on Wednesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Our website is www.d210.tv. Instagram is at D210 Sports. Facebook is at D210 Sports, and X is at D210S. So that's if you want to find out more about us, that's where you can find us.
No doubt. Hey man, this was fun. Again, little mix up with the time start and everything, but man,
my apologies, man, because I was thinking that's
all
like
good.
7:30, and I was rushing. I was trying to get home. I was like, okay, he said 7:30. I got about 15 minutes, and then I was looking for my phone, and my phone was like right here in front of me. I was like, where's my phone? We're about to go on in a couple of minutes or whatever. But thank you for your patience. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Anything that I can do, just let me know, and we'll make it happen.
No doubt,
And
man.
as far as this is will this be on Instagram where I can
yes,
be able to what's the word that I'm looking for? Where I can
what, communication, or you trying
no,
to
the show, if I can replay it on
Oh yes. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Also YouTube, Facebook,
Okay.
Twitter. I don't know how often you're on Twitter, but the full show will definitely be posted, and then also the audio side, if you got Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you got any of those platforms, we're also available on the audio side too.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, I'll definitely put a plug in there for you guys as well. Like I said, I appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Appreciate you giving me this platform to, kind of, talk a little sports and talk a little D210 TV as well.
No doubt.
And it was great meeting you too, man. You're a great host.
Yes, thanks, man. Appreciate that. And Maestro, wish he was here, but he sends all his best. So
tell Maestro I send him my best too as well, and I thank him for the opportunity as well.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, Vernon. We'll talk soon, and we'll see you down the road, man.
All right, Trey. And anything I can do, man, please let me know, and let's stay in contact with one another.
Absolutely, absolutely. You got the IG and the Twitter, so we'll stay in touch.
We'll stay in touch. And when I do my podcast, you're going to be the first person that will be my guest.
Nice. I'll hold you to that.
I just got to figure out how to do it.
Oh, okay. Oh, you need some tips. Okay. Yeah,
I need some tips. So
okay.
I'll definitely be reaching out to you.
All right. No doubt. No doubt. You know where to hit me at.
All right, Trey. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Vernon. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Appreciate you.
All
right. All right. That was the homie right there, Vernon Hadnot, founder, owner of D210 Sports, Dallas-based sports media. You can find him all on his social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Vernon Hadnot. Also the website, don't want to forget the website, at D210.tv. Just want to make sure I get that right. So I want to give a quick shout out to BS3, who was in the Facebook live chat. Also want to give a quick shout out to everybody that was watching us on IG this evening. I see you, Mocha Bella. The homie Maestro Styles is in there posting in the paint. LA Vern, I see you. Had Vernon Hadnot also. Want to thank him for coming through and blessing the show. Want to thank those viewers out there who've been watching us on Twitter, watching us on Twitch and Facebook and YouTube. Just a couple more things too. So August 27th, take that date down, folks. August 27th, Maestro Styles, Trey Frazier, Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast, the 400th episode, 7:00 Eastern Time, Tuesday, August 27th, right here on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, IG, all that good stuff. We're going to open the studio to everybody that wants to come in, congratulate us, talk some trash, get some sports talk in, all that good stuff. So we definitely looking forward to that. I also got a surprise merch item that I'm going to share in a couple of days. I created some stuff that I think is going to look dope for folks out there looking to get some of our merch. And I'll share a little bit more about that as the days go by. So, but thanks to everybody. Continue to follow us on our social media at Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast is where you can find us on Instagram. At Barbershop SPOR2 is where you can find us on Twitter. Also, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click that like button on the Facebook page. Also, follow us on Twitch. If you got questions, comments about the show, email us at barbershopsportstalk1@gmail.com. So, again, thanks to Vernon Hadnot from D210 Sports. Love, peace, and happiness to everybody out there. We got a dope one next week for you guys, and hopefully Maestro will be back next week with me. Love, peace, happiness, folks. And as always, mind your damn business and drink some water.
Oh yeah, we got him. Trey Frazier and Maestro Styles, you know we got one. Right back like we left some. We don't duck smoke, we want all of it. So line them up, Trey shot with the blade, you know we sizing it up. I'm quick to catch the fade, you know Styles making the cut. Cause we coming out clean every time that we showing up.
It's gonna be called The Barbershop.